Hello, my name is Samantha Cook, and I'm presenting on military public affairs. So, public affairs is public relations for the military. I've highlighted their main purposes. So, overall, their main purpose and mission is to inform the public about military policies and operations. They operate from a place of, or they their statements is that they believe that the American people should be informed about the military. They monitor the awareness and opinions and attitudes of the military that the public holds. So, like I said, their goal is to promote an informed citizenry, but they have no political agenda. Um, on the other hand, they also deal with internal communications, whereas in the corporate world, what public relations practitioners wouldn't deal with and HR would deal with. In the military, actually, the public affairs officers deal with kind of HR things. So that's enhancing the morale of the men and women who serve, monitoring the opinions and attitudes amongst the military servicemen and women, and I'm going to go more over that. So there's some unique challenges to military public affairs that public relations in the private sector don't have. There's a high need for accountability and transparency, especially the military is something that some of the topics such as nuclear war, missions, environmental issues are hot topics. But on the other hand, there needs to be a balance between disclosure and protecting classified information. As we've learned with like after 9/11, there's stakeholders, um, big stakeholders, the American public, the soldiers, our international allies and enemies, but mostly I highlighted US citizens and Congress because taxpayers, the Department of Defense has like the biggest budget, and Congress is who passes legislation on the military, and the citizens are who pay for it. So the public affairs officers have there's a big responsibility to inform the citizens. On the other hand, though, now more than ever, there's a big cultural gap between servicemen and women and civilians. A couple, like a generation or two ago, when there was a draft and everybody, when they were 18, they had to enlist, the American people understood the military much more than they do now, where about like only 5% of the population is actually in the service. So that's also to be such big stakeholders, the like the society, but to have such a big disconnect culturally, puts a big responsibility and a big task for the media to deliver the news about the military, and for public affairs officers to provide that. So I just want to highlight some of the external versus internal communications and public affairs that the PAOs handle. So outwardly, they're going to be dealing with media outlets about military and combat operations, community outreach that the military does, because the PAO, or the public affairs officers, have a big job or duty of presenting the right image of the military, as I said, to the society. They trying to fill that, trying to connect, and I said media outlets. But then if you look inwardly, there's the rape, sexual misconduct, sex scandals, That's this image here that I attached. We can see that they have some propaganda that they put out about sexual harassment right from the Army. Don't ask, don't tell, the PTSD, suicides. I mean, these are some really, really big issues within the military. So public affairs officers, also are really involved in that discussion, advising the lieutenants and the bosses in the military how to handle these situations. So now a big there's been a lot of big pushes of professionalization of the public affairs officers. Um, the field of PR has had to adapt to the military because the military is such a authoritative organization. It's different from the private sector. But the military, in turn, is professionalizing public affairs. The this role is so vital, so they are integrating it into management. um, the Department of, so with all of this, there's more opportunities for education, higher education, accreditation. So, for example, in 2005, the Department of Defense signed a contract with the University of San Diego State. It's an accelerated master's degree for active duty public affairs officers earning the PRSA. They now have a PRSA plus M plus military accreditation. So we talked about in our coursework the professionalization of public relations, and the same thing happening with public affairs. So there's actually, I was so interested to see how much opportunity and how much, I was surprised at how much, you know, graduate, graduate opportunities and programs there are. So PAO positions usually require a bachelor's degree in communications, journalism, or any related areas. You have to go to officer training school, which is usually in Maryland. Um, Public Affairs Qualification course at the Defense Information School in Fort Meade, where they learn fundamentals of public affairs, including military media relations. The Army, the Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard have like different variations of the public affairs officer training, but there's a variety of different as I said, graduate programs. And actually, the average salary of a public affairs officer was reported at 117,000 a year. So it's a great career. So I went ahead. Oh, and then here's I got this right off of um, I think this is from the Army's public affairs page. This is a program, an accelerated 18-month program at Georgetown University. Officers get a master's in public relations and corporate communications. They have training within the industry, gives PAOs an opportunity to gain public relations this is in the private sector. So it's a part, I think, of this professionalization of the fields. The military is expanding into higher education, um, and even the private sector. It's pretty amazing. So I decided to go on to LinkedIn and see an example of an individual that is a public affairs officer. So there's this woman, Chelsea Irish. She's a public affairs officer for the Navy. I wanted to look at her education first. So we see that she went to the Defense Information School. She went to Georgetown University, master's degree in public relations and corporate communications. And then she has a bachelor's degree. Yep. So just several different there's levels to be trained and prestige, I should say. And then I wanted to show that she had such a nice LinkedIn page, lead public affairs coordinator, led a team of 17 public affairs professionals, assistant officer. Well, this public affairs coordinator, sole release authority for all stories, photos, and videos reaching an audience of more than 20 million, coordinated daily coverage with foreign countries to highlight more than 150 exercise events on land and at sea. So a main media point contact, the PAOs are. So it's actually a really interesting career that looks like there's room for growth as far as education and a great salary, median salary. And then my exam questions here from my presentation. So thank you so much.